I'll give a few remarks tonight. You're not here primarily to hear me, but I'll give you a few remarks. And tell you what's a little different than some years in terms of, rather than just kind of summarizing the theme of 2014, which is pretty obvious. It was tyranny of the majority. It was unchallenged control of government. And hopefully we've done something here now, the people have in the last election cycle, to at least put a monkey wrench into things, really dubious legislation sailing through very easily the last couple of years. And so even if not much gets done, you've done something if you retard that pace of really bad legislation that was coming through the last couple of years. So then it's been upbeat tonight, and that's good. I do want to send a little bit of a cautionary note, and there are people here that I was listening to tonight, people at the table who were noticing some of this as well. There are a number of the best and brightest people that have lent their support to Minnesota politics and made themselves available for public service and volunteerism and so forth that are not here in the state anymore. And I mean, you can go all the way back to the 1990s when Kevin Knight was sounding the alarm about what the poll ads were trying to do with the stadium and embarrassing the so-called fiscal conservative governor we had at the time in the leadership. And when he left the legislature, he moved for the freedom of Arizona. We had Doug Reuter was in the legislature, who received a number of awards from us, and he was also an inventor. He left and moved to Texas. Another one of the best and brightest that was here a couple of years ago, really brilliant mind and very knowledgeable in the heritage of the country, Representative Douglas Wardlow is now in Arizona as well. Some of the people in the audience from recent banquets have moved to other states. Dennis Holman is in Nevada. One of our former chairpersons and her spouse, Judy and Mike Lindsay, have moved to Wyoming. Vern and Sherry Madsen have moved to South Dakota, so it's not all just about the warm weather climate, it's about freedom, people. So, and we really need people to recognize that we have to do something to make people want to stay here and make it a better for society for those of us who are still here. It's a big responsibility, I know, but we all have to do our part. And it's also if anybody still believes the myth that conservatives are the ones, the principal conservatives are the ones that have all the big money and have all and throw their big money and power around to get everything done in politics. This organization is a grassroots organization that has existed since 1972. Our dues have been the same since its inception of $10 to be a member. When you're a member, you get input on the priorities that we're going to score in the upcoming report. Mailing, you get the report, you get an invitation to the banquet, you get to vote on the board that is responsible for putting together the content of the report. It doesn't get much more grassroots than that. And and even with our dues being what they have been, we have active volunteers. We have active volunteers for LEA who can't necessarily even afford this amount. We have people that they're couples and they'll alternate in any given year, whether or not they send $10 just for the couple or $10 for each of them. And so we really have got to do something to make it better for people to be able to attend, and to be able to have the opportunity to be able to do their part to make principled government come about. And if some of these legislators here, if we get our wish, and we get twice as many honorees next year, you got to bring a cheering section as well, so we can afford the tab for having all the extra legislators here. So, but that'd be a nice problem to have. So, anyway, and then we have also, we have, just very shortly here, we have another longtime member of LEA who left for a place that had a very similar political heritage to ours, of liberal progressivism, and they had we had Senator Wellstone, they had Senator Feingold. We had Jim Oberstar, they had David Obey. We have Mark Dayton, and there's Herb Cole over in Wisconsin. They have Tammy Baldwin. We don't have Tammy Baldwin, that's okay with us. Anyway, but they're in the state government, they're really doing something. They're turning the ship of state. They've found a way, starting out with the same kind of background as us, they somehow found a way to overcome, the vested interests and the bureaucracy and so forth, and found a way to turn the ship of state a little bit toward more fiscal responsibility, toward more freedom, toward more constitutional principles. And I thought tonight that would be a great opportunity to try to learn from that. And so we will be doing that very shortly. And I also know we have some new people here tonight. So for many of you, this is not. This kind of gets old, but for those who are new, I don't want to let them leave without knowing a little more about what we do at LEA. We are about education and evaluation. Our main product is our annual report on the legislature. We do not endorse candidates in campaigns. We do not give money to candidates. We're about education and evaluation. There are a number of other groups that put out scorecards, and they do all those other things, and we need people to do all those other things, but we focus on this. This is what we do, and our reports are such that it's when we score something, when we try to get a big enough cross section of votes, because we know that there's margin for error. We could be wrong on something, so we try to get a big enough cross section of votes in a number of different policy areas, so that if you just get one vote different from us, that it doesn't preclude you from having a chance to be honored. And we also try to let people know more than just a sentence about the legislation that we're scoring. Well, we usually try to devote a paragraph in our summaries to specifically what the bill is, what it does, then also what the probable impacts and effects of the bill will be, and then finally the principled reasons why we supported or opposed the legislation or amendment that we're scoring. And we hope that people appreciate that they take advantage of that education, and they help form their own opinions and become more engaged, effective citizens in the political climate. And so with that, looking back a little bit to the contrast between Minnesota and Wisconsin, besides the common political figures, or political heritage, we also have state constitutions that have some things in common and some differences as well. Wisconsin has staggered Senate elections, which I think would be kind of nice to have, in that the terms of office are the same, but you don't get an election cycle where an entire body of the legislature is immune from public review, as we just did in the 2014 elections. None of the senators had to be on the ballot, and I think it's very healthy for everybody to have some people on the ballot, because I don't think it's accidental that it's harder for senators to make this. Usually it's harder for senators to make honors on this banquet, even though this year we scored them on the exact same votes, because it's so easy just to end up being almost unanimous votes by the time things get to the Senate. and because there's just that pressure, that momentum builds up. So I think that would be one welcome thing that Wisconsin has that we do not. Wisconsin also has a right to bear arms in its state constitution. That would be kind of nice to have too, would it not?
Yes.
In Wisconsin, referenda can pass by a majority of those that are voting on the amendment. In Minnesota, it takes a majority of people that are voting in the entire election. So it's a much bigger hurdle for the public to actually get any kind of referendum passed. One thing that we do have that Wisconsin doesn't have quite to the same degree, and we really need to make better use of it, is in our Constitution we have a very specific part that deals with single subject, and that no bill shall embrace more than one subject, which will be the subject will be in its title. And I kind of messed up the exact wording, but anyway, it's very important because things like the Women's Economic Security Act, where all of a sudden they threw a little pilot retirement, state-run retirement program into the same thing, that doesn't seem like a single subject to me at all. And we've had all kinds of examples of that in recent years. And the temptation, of course, is going to be that when you have one body of the legislature, if you're trying to get something passed, the temptation is going to be to try to bring everybody together and hammer out a deal that covers everything, and you get one thing and somebody else gets one thing, but then it really disenfranchises a lot of the legislators and the people that went there, that sent them to office, especially when things like that happen in special session, where it's pretty much a done deal by the time they reconvene. So it's very important to try to, particularly when it comes to policy, I would say very much when it comes to policy, there's no reason for policy bills to be going through that introduce entirely new policies in more than one area that get put into one bill. And our Constitution is pretty clear on it, and I want people to really try to do their part to uphold that. Wisconsin does have a single subject in its Constitution, but not to the same degree. It's only on bills of a local nature, from what I read. So that's something maybe you can bring home to Wisconsin, Representative Knudsen, and try to get a stronger single subject movement going.